Here with Adam Page talking about being a parent today. And this is the Way to Go podcast. And one of the things, I mean, we talk about faith, family, and daily life on this show. And it's pretty daily when you're a parent to be parenting. And even when you're kids, what I found out, because I have adult kids, it never ends. You're always a parent, no matter. You always think, hey, you know, they're going to get out of the house, they're going to go to college, and that's going to be the end of it. That is not the end of it. That's just where the fun starts. You know, that's when it really gets tough, is when they actually go on and try to parent adult children.
You're giving me no hope, man. My kids are 8 and 5.
This show is not about giving you hope. This show is about you surviving it. This is about how to do it.
Different kind of survivor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's gonna be a while. But in Proverbs 22:6 is a famous verse: start children off the way they should go, and even when they are old, they will not turn from it. And I think that is a really, really great verse right there. And one of the things I figure we could talk about in this segment is just setting the example for other people, because you have to have it. I think of 2 Timothy 1:5, I'm reminded of your sincere faith, and this is Paul talking to Timothy, which first lived in your grandmother Lois and in your mother Eunice. I'm persuaded now lives in you also. They saw it. You know, they saw a faith. Timothy saw a faith in his mom and his grandmom that definitely impacted his life. So I look at that and say, example. We need to set, as a parent, we need to set a good example for our kids.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think it's your relationship with God of, you know, showing, you know, taking care of yourself physically, mentally, and spiritually, and being an example to your kids that they need to take care of those different parts of their life.
Right. Yeah. So if you're walking with God, they'll be more inclined to walk with God.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as you take care of yourself, you know, spiritually that way, and you're in church and you see it as a priority, then your kids will begin to see it as a priority in their life. And as you take care of yourself physically, they'll see that, you know, in all areas of your life, really, as you model that, you know, and take care of yourself mentally. I think you need to kind of take care of yourself, kind of like on the plane, how you put on your own mask before you go and help somebody else,
right.
Kind of being that example for your kids.
Right. And sometimes I think as a parent, in the nitty-gritty of life, a parent is going to be way more concerned about their kids a lot of times than they are for themselves. And I've seen moms, they say a man's work is done with the setting sun and a mother's work is never done. And I've seen that to be very, very true. You know, a lot of moms, and kudos, hats off to them. They do so much. A lot of them right now, we've got moms right now in our church that they have to school children remotely because they're teachers.
Yeah.
Homeschool their own kids, take care of a ton of stuff around the house. And they're probably not even worried about them. They're probably worried about their own. Their focus is so on their own kids, which is impressive. But like you said, you still got to go out and take care of yourself. As a parent, I always, you know, worked out and always did stuff. I learned this as a parent. I remember I did a parenting series, and what they said was, look, whatever you're into as a parent, bring your kids along in it. Yeah. And that's kind of setting the example. There's something you like to do and you think is fun, include them. Don't just go off and do it. Make that a part of their life too.
Yeah. Definitely. I think it's, you know, whether it's work or whether it's, you know, taking a break as a family, having pajama day or watching a movie, you know, setting that example for them, showing them, you know, hey, when you do take a break, that, you know, it is important to have a Sabbath,
right?
You know, to rest and to take care of yourself as a family.
I think for us, the only day we rested would be on Sunday. It was the only day I believed in doing no work. So after church, which was really nice family time actually, because, and I don't know if this was really setting an example as much as it would be more spending time with them, but on Sunday afternoon, we'd always do things together because I wouldn't pull a weed on a Sunday. Yeah. I wouldn't pick up a paintbrush. I wouldn't mow the lawn. No work is going to get done on Sunday. So after church, I believe in resting physically. So that would be the time you'd take them for a walk, a bike ride. You would go and get ice cream somewhere. And I think that was always a fun thing to do, actually.
Yeah.
So,
but it's even though it's those one-on-one times like you were talking about, going for a bike ride or getting the ice cream, that they're gonna hear those things from you, and they're gonna be able to listen, and they're gonna pick up from your actions what you're saying. That's modeling it right there of what's going on. I think that's huge. That's really important in today's society.
They picked up on, get moving. Come on, let's go. I remember telling my son, he's 5 years old, this isn't the Club Med. Let's go. Let's get moving. We were like clearing a hedgerow. Yeah. He was helping me work. And we would always tell my family, look, we might only work for 2 hours on a Saturday, but in those 2 hours, we will work. You know what I'm saying? We played a lot of the rest of the day. Yeah. And we're goofing around. But then when it's time to work, hey, let's get after it. So I'm sure that they have legendary stories when they talk about me. And they amuse me every time they talk about growing up. But I think you'd have to have a good example. And I think for me, it's like they're going to follow you. We're in a time with coronavirus. If you're acting all stressed out, don't expect your kids to be calm. Mm-hmm. I remember talking to our one youth pastor one time, and he had taken over my team for head coaching of soccer. And he was running up and down the sidelines, yelling and hollering and all this stuff. And then he was telling his team to calm down. So I told him, I said, your team will calm down when you calm down.
Yeah.
When they see a calm coach, they'll be a calm team. When I'm, as a parent, I was never one to want to panic or show that kind of kids, like act to them like we're not going to make it. They were going to see, for me, a skipper that's sure of himself. We're going to be okay. We're going to make it. We're going to figure it out. It's going to be all right, because that's how you have to. And from my perspective, that's the example that I want to set. And I mean, my dad, I don't think that guy ever complained about much of anything. He just went out and worked and got the job done. So all his boys, all my bros, we all saw that. Hey, he works hard, and he goes to church, and he serves. He does things for the Lord. That's the stuff that's important to him. Yeah. So what becomes important to us? All that stuff that we saw growing up, because the apple never falls far from the tree.
That's very true.
Isn't it? So I think that's setting an example. And I think love your spouse is another thing too, just your family way. We're commanded as husbands to love our spouse. And I remember hearing one time I was doing this parenting class, and they said that one of the best things you could ever do for your kids is to love their mom. And I really thought about that a lot. Those kids need to see a good, secure relationship, because then there's a ton of insecurities that kids have anyway, in this world, between getting picked on sometimes, or things didn't go their way, or disappointments that they have. And they're just learning to figure it out. They're in second grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, whatever. They're just all trying to figure life out. But when they see you and mom, if you're bickering and arguing all the time, well, what does that say to them? That's going to make them feel, oh my goodness, I come home and there's acrimony. There it's insecure. I don't know what's going to happen. And I think it's better if, focus on that marriage too.
Yeah, I think that the mom and dad having that firm foundation in their marriage really shows to the kids. I mean, their life is full of anxiety right now with not having graduations for kindergarten, for preschool, the end of the year, dances, and all the different things that happen at the end of the year aren't happening. And they're wondering, is the pool going to open? Or are we going to have, Little League? Or some of these things are getting canceled. And having that firm marriage, having a spouse together that is, firm, that we are calm in this situation together, I think brings peace and brings calmness to the children, and they're able to see that.
I think too, going back to a simple lifestyle, like a lot of the stuff you mentioned, I mean, that was nothing. Like when the only thing that I feel sorry for kids right now missing out on, aside from seniors missing out on graduation, I mean, that really does rot. Baseball. I think the baseball and softball, I think that was always a big deal for me when I was a little kid, but we didn't have like dances and all that kind of stuff. We played in the backyard. We were out playing kickball. We were out throwing the football. We were out playing baseball. All summer long, you're with your friends and you're playing and you're taking bike rides and you're going places. To us, we didn't need anything else other than to be free. Yeah. That's all we needed. And I think the best thing for kids is just to get out there and play. And sometimes, maybe they don't have big events, but that's a great time for parents to say, hey, you know what, kids? We don't have any big plans right now because of everything that got shut down, like amusement parks, possibly Waldameer. It might for the whole summer. It might. Some of the dances, like you mentioned, but that's okay, because you know what? We're going to go to the lake and we're going to watch the sunset. We're going to go, man, I've seen parents out there at the lake, and then this one guy, I befriended him. He's always doing stuff with his kids in the front yard. They're out there playing. Yeah, maybe they don't have sports. He's out there filming his kids, throwing the football to each other. They're out hiking. I see pictures from this guy ever since I met him a few weeks ago. He's got a whole brood of kids. They're always out there. They're hiking. They're walking around. He's taking pictures. They're having fun. And sure, maybe there were some things they miss, but there's other things you can gain at times from what you miss. Yeah,
I think that's right. What you're saying is, taking that time to set down the cell phone and the tablet, turn off the TV, and to be there with the kids and be there really with your spouse. Have that open communication there as you love them, and be willing to listen to them, and really work as a team with your kids. And like you're saying, being out there in the community and doing activities, not just sitting at home, watching TV or on your tablet.
Some people have to, I've talked to a dozen, literally in the last few weeks, dozens of people. And some of them, because they have an elderly parent living at their house. Like they truly can't go anywhere. Like they can't take that risk that what if they go and they get exposed to COVID and they bring it back. And I get it. I feel for them. I would say if you can get out of the house, I think it's mentally healthy to do that. If you take a walk on the trail, if you go, there's all the hiking trails are wide open.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't found a hiking trail yet that's closed. And there's lots of them in Northeast Ohio. I mean, there's a Girdled Road Reservation. There's Chapin, or Chapin, however they say. I think it's Chapin Forest Reservation. There's Hogsback in Madison. There's Thompson Ledges. There's Nelson Ledges. There's Indian Trails Park. There's all kinds of places where you can actually go, walk, chill out, breathe in some of that good fresh air, soak in a little vitamin D. And by the way, vitamin D is good for fighting coronavirus. So you can suck in some vitamin D. And I think it's really, really important. But one thing that you had mentioned is teamwork. When my wife and I got married, it was us against the world. And that's how we viewed it, and that's how I've always viewed it. And when I had kids, it was still us against the world, and sometimes the world was them. And they're the ones trying to divide us, and they're the ones trying to, whining or fussing or giving us a hard time about things. We always stuck together. Like we were a team that could not be divided just because our kids were given. I would give her some pointers. She would give me pointers. If I thought she was being too hard, I'd tell her. If she thought I was being too hard, she'd tell me. But it was always the two of us. You know what I'm saying? Because I knew those kids were going to grow up and be gone, and it's still going to be the two of us. Yeah, that's something you can't forget.
It's the couple comes together and making the decisions on what's going to happen, and the kids are the blessing of that the house is run by the parents, and it's not vice versa.
Right.
You know, that the kids do not run the home, and then the parents just kind of get whatever the kids choose. It's the opposite, that these kids are a blessing that God has given us. Right. We see that. You know, it was pretty interesting. I went to a conference with Kurt Cameron. He really explained that, and just how we care for our kids and how they're a blessing, and that they get to be a part of what we choose as the parents.
Right. Well, I think in spending time is the next thing I want to talk. So, hey, set the example, love your spouse. Those are two things you can do. Spend time together. Nothing replaces it. But just I talked to a man. Now, he was a World War II vet that used to come to church, and he flew planes, which was really amazing. Wow. And he flew the fighter planes, and the average lifespan of these fighter pilots was about 19 hours. Wow. So they were getting killed left and right. He was the one that would come down low, and I forget they were the P-19s, PT, whatever they were the strafing planes, the planes that would come down and put the bullets in the trains and blow up bridges and, all that kind of stuff. It was super, super dangerous. He lives through this. He comes back. He builds a business. Now I'd see him at church, and he lived at Roman Shores, and he would have us over. And this is the one thing he taught me I thought was great. He said, Bill, have a hub for your family. For us, it was water skiing and boating. We got a boat. The whole family loved it, and that's something that we always did. And I always thought about that. I'm like, yeah, it's important. For me, the hub was picking. It was buying and selling antiques and yard sailing. My kids loved it. I would take them out yard sailing. I'd always take them out to lunch that day, so they would have that to look forward to. They could get their money in their pocket. They could go buy whatever they wanted to buy, and we'd go all over the place. Lake County, and then later on, years Cleveland, see all kinds of cool houses and have all kinds of cool experiences, see things we didn't see before. Stop at coffee shops. Like, we made it fun. Like, we went out picking, but we made it a lot of fun. And to me, that was always the hub that drew us together. Even still, like, my kids will love to go out with me from time to time, especially my oldest daughter still loves to go every chance she can. They don't have yard sales right now, but because the coronavirus shut down yard sales, it's kind of sad, actually.
Yeah, it is.
But, it was a hub. And it was a hub for the family. And it wouldn't matter to me. I mean, it could be playing tennis. It could be golf if you can afford that for your whole family. Could be biking. Whatever it is, but something that that unites the family, that they all do together, I think is a great thing.
Yeah. I know for our family, it's the adaptability of whatever is going on a Saturday. Whether we go to the mile-long or I think a 40-mile-long garage sale that's going on, or whether we go out to the lake, or whether we're doing a community activity in town. Saturday is our day that we get out, and we get out in the community and we see what's going on. And the kids know that every Saturday is going to be an adventure, and they eat meals together. We spend time together, and then, that evening or sometime that weekend, we go out to the fire pit and we hang out together and make s'mores. And, sometimes people come over, but just being there together as a family, that's a safe place that they can share their thoughts,
I think it's super
and be
important,
together.
actually. Yeah, I think it's vital. I'm glad you guys do that. And I see your adventures in Ashtabula on Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
So you'll put up some pictures there, different things you go. And I know I see you at the beach. Now, this year, again, is going to be unique because you're not going to have those parades.
Yeah.
You're not like Memorial Day, probably won't have the parades, Grape Jamboree, no fair.
Jamboree,
So, there's a lot of stuff that they normally would do, but that's okay because you'll find other things to do. Like if they take one thing away from us, there's always something else that we haven't had a chance to do yet. Now's your opportunity to go walk there to see that. I think
you can always make your own adventures. I think it's also just important that you're just, even if you're not on an adventure, that you're eating meals together, that you're sitting at the table, you're talking with them, of asking the kids, what's your high, what was exciting that you did today, part of homeschool, or maybe it was a Zoom call that you did, and what was the low, what happened, and kind of talk to the kids. And then one of the things that we do that's a hub every night is we do devotions together as a family.
Good.
And we have the kids go and they write in their prayer journal of what's going on. And I encourage them when they talk to their grandparents to let them know that we're praying for them and ask for prayer requests, that becomes a part of their habit in their life,
right.
And then they ask to do that. And they ask how people are doing because they've been praying for them.
Right.
So I think that's quality time that you're able to spend together.
I think that's fantastic, actually. I think devotions with your kids, I think, is important. One thing for me, like I didn't do a lot of it in some ways as when I was in ministry, I was the only pastor at Eagleville, but I didn't want my kids to get churched out because they were homeschooled, so they heard the Bible constantly in homeschool. And then they were church every Wednesday night. We had Sunday morning church. We had Sunday night church. Like my kids from the time they were 2 years old were sitting in adult church. Sitting there.
Old school church
for years. I mean, that went on for their whole they wouldn't remember anything else. I mean, from the younger days, other than being in church every Sunday morning. And then when I was doing 2 services, they would have to be at 2 services. They would be in church Sunday morning. Then when they got to be teenagers, they would serve. So one service they would serve, one service they would just attend, and they would come listen to the sermons. And I never asked them a question about it. I never went and drilled them. I never knew what my kids thought about me or any of my sermons until they were in college.
Really?
Yep. And then when they were in college, they said, "Oh, Dad, we loved listening to you." I never knew because I never asked because I didn't want to drive it church so far into their heads because I lived it every day of my life that they hated it. And I never wanted to hate it. And to this day, I mean, my kids all come to church. They're still here. So was it right or wrong? I don't know. But I do commend the devotions because I think it's super important to do it.
I make my kids listen to every sermon.
Yeah, that's good. And hopefully they get something out of it.
No, I'm just
but
kidding.
I think making time to listen. Well, yeah, my kids got to hear 2 a day. But making time to listen too. Like as an adult, whether my children were teenagers, a lot of times I would notice sometimes my wife, she would jump in and my daughter would say something, let's say that my wife didn't like, and my wife would just jump right all over it. You shouldn't, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, up. Stop. She's talking. You know what I'm saying? Let her talk.
Yeah.
Because if you interrupt your kid and the kid doesn't say a lot and all of a sudden they're trying to talk to you and I'm telling you the first thing out of their mouth, you're clamping right down on them. Well, that's not the right way to think and that's not the way. No, let that kid talk because I would always want, if my kids were actually starting to talk to me, I want to listen because I want to hear what they have to say. Even now as adults, if they want to talk to me and I'm starting to hear stuff come out of their mouths, okay.
Yeah, you got to let them process it a little bit.
They might drain me like a battery all the way down. I might need recharge after it's over, but it's okay because as a parent, I want to be there for them. And I think setting boundaries too. Deuteronomy 6, and we kind of close with this, but Deuteronomy 6:6-9, these commandments that I give you today are to be on your hearts and press them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up. Tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them on your foreheads. Write them on the door frames of your house and on your gates. And it's kind of going along with what you just said. Make that Bible a part of their lives.
Yeah.
Make it so that they know it. It is part and it's ingrained. I just want my kids serve God, serve others. If you'll do that, then I'm going to be happy. And once in a while, I still throw it out there at them and say, "Hey, what are you doing to serve? Where are you involved?" Because I think we have a responsibility to teach our kids what was right and what is wrong.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's, setting the expectations for them, and I understand for some parents, when they're homeschooling, that, there's some days that are going to be different. You might get 2 hours of Paw Patrol one day, and that wasn't really necessarily in your plans, or they might be on their tablets for an extra long time. But, it's okay, but having the boundaries there for them, letting them know that they're loved and that they're cared for.
Right. I think that's huge. I mean, I would set boundaries. If I drew a line in the sand, I meant it. If I told you something was going to happen, you knew it was going to happen
Yeah.
because I wasn't one of those guys who was going to say it and I wasn't going to follow through. If I told you you were going to lose your iPad for 3 weeks, if you didn't stop giving me lip and guff, you lost it for 3 weeks. And then I would tell them, and if you even mention it to me in the next 3 weeks, there's going to be more. And they would know Dad's serious, because I wasn't one to say a lot of stuff I didn't mean because I didn't believe in it. I didn't believe in it as a youth leader. I didn't believe in it as a parent. So set the example, love your spouse, spend time together, and set boundaries, and you will do a great job as a parent. We appreciate you tuning in to the show. May you have a blessed week.